This is Unit 1, Section 1.2, Evaluating Expressions. So when we evaluate expressions, we have two steps that we're going to use. Let me just see if I can get this camera a little bit clearer here. That's better. So these are the steps that we are going to follow. We are going to follow these two simple steps. Step number 1 is you're going to plug the values in for each variable. So sometimes you'll be given one variable, sometimes two, sometimes three, and you're going to replace all of them in the expression with whatever number they're telling you that it's equal to. Just a reminder, if you have something like 3x, that's really 3 times x. So this is multiplication, so we have to make sure that we remember that when we are plugging in. So step number 1, plug in. Step number 2, simplify. And simplifying is using our PEMDAS, which we talked about on 1.1's notes. So let's look at the first example. We have 4x plus 5y minus 7 when x is going to be equal to 2 and y is going to be equal to 3. So we know that x is the same thing as 2, right? That's what an equal signs mean. X is equal to 2. That means anywhere we see an x, we're going to be able to replace that with a 2. Similarly, everywhere we see a y, we now know that that is equal to 3. Those are the same, so we're going to replace every y with a 3. So let's do just that. I'm going to leave everything outside of my circles, or not my variables, as their normal selves. This will stay a 4. But instead of being multiplied by x, it's going to be multiplied by 2. We are then going to add 5 to that, and that is going to be multiplied by our new y value, which is 3. And then subtracting from that is 7. Now we are going to say that we've completed step 1, so we can move on to step number 2, which is simplifying. So when we go to simplify, we're using PEMDAS. So we're saying, do we have any parentheses? Well, yes, we have 2 sets of parentheses, but we don't have anything inside of them to do, so we're going to move on to the next one. Do we have any exponents? No, we don't have any exponents here. Do we have multiplication and division? Because remember, these two are kind of paired together to say which one you do based on left to right. And we actually have 2 things of multiplication. So I'm going to do those in this step. 4 times 2 gives me 8. And then here I have 5 times 3. That gives me 15. So I went from left to right and did those things. And now I'm left with 8 plus 15 minus 7. So we are going to move on to our next step, which is our addition and subtraction, which we do from left to right. So we're going to start by doing the addition first, 8 plus 15. So we're going to do 8 plus 15 and find out that that is 23. And we get 23 minus 7 remaining. That is one simple subtraction piece to do. We're going to subtract 7 from 23 and find out that our answer is 16. All right, so that is the first example there. Remember, since you're watching a video, you can pause this as many times as you need to follow along, or make sure you have this all written down in your notes. All right, let's do example number 2. So I'm going to use the same method of our colors here. When I'm plugging in my x, I'm now going to replace that with 3, and I have 1x in the equation here. And when I go to plug in my y's, I'm now replacing all y's with 2, and we have one of those of our equation. So our original equation is x squared minus y squared, but we're going to use our new values to plug into that. So instead of plugging in x, I know that I'm going to plug in 3. So this is going to become 3 all to the power of 2, or 3 squared is what we like to say. That's going to then be minus, and instead of y, we are putting a 2 here, and that is still 2 squared. So the new items are plugged in our different colors. Our x's are red and our y's are blue. And now we're going to use our PEMDAS to simplify. So again, we start with parentheses. Yes, we have parentheses, but there's nothing to do inside of them. So then we move on to exponents. And we have 2 exponents here. Remember, like we talked about the other day when we did notes 1.1, exponents means how many times you multiply a number by itself. So if we have 3 to the second power, or 3 squared, that is the same as having 3 times 3. So that becomes 9. This is minus, and then we have 2 times 2. 2 to the second power is 2 times 2, which gives us 4. Now we're left with one simple step of subtraction to do. 9 minus 4 gives us our final answer of 5. And we're going to box all of our answers here for consistency.